I deal with treatment-resistant depression. This has pretty much nullified it. I was really, really surprised in the effects of it. I thought it might help a little bit, but I deal with that. And I also deal with chronic anxiety and PTSD as well. I was really interested in it because of that. I mean, it sounded like a game changer, and it honestly was. It changed everything for me. I haven't had a depressive episode since I finished my treatments. Actually, it was after the second one, I didn't feel depression at all any further. And it just really did a lot for me when it came to that. But it also helped me really to change my thought patterns. You know, the neuroplasticity effects that it has, it allowed me to focus on and receive what I wanted to when it came to that. And it's been game-changing when it comes to that, for sure.
Welcome to the My Self Wellness Podcast. I'm Charles Patti, the founder and CEO of My Self Wellness, along with my co-founder, Christina Thomas. 9 years ago, I began my journey to self-awareness and healing. Like many who have faced personal struggles, I felt lost and battled to find recovery. It wasn't until I discovered alternative healing methods that I began to see a real change in my life. This show will help you unlock your true potential through healthy lifestyle practices and transformations. Join us as we explore personal stories, expert advice, and practical tips to help you step into your true potential and level up. Welcome to the My Self Wellness Podcast. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the My Self Wellness Podcast. Today we're journeying with James Jones. James is a molecular nutritionist and much more. Thanks for being on the show today, James.
Thanks for having me.
So tell me, tell me about molecular nutrition. What's that all about?
So molecular nutrition is how your nutrition affects you on a molecular level, where it starts. And it all starts in the bloodstream. So everything that we take into our body gets broken down, enzymated, processed, and then put where it needs to be. But it all starts at one point, which is your blood.
Excellent. And so you are actually the head of research and development for Kava culture. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah.
And so what does that entail?
So it's basically a lot of making things taste good and making people feel good. You know, we get to make a lot of amazing drinks that help to give people an alternative that's healthier than alcohol. So that way they have a way to enjoy things in their life and enjoy that social aspect without having all the negative side effects that we know that alcohol brings.
I love that. I think that's a really positive thing. For everybody that doesn't know out there, James is also one of our clients at My Self Wellness and has recently done the treatments. We'll get into that a little bit later, but I'd love to learn what sparked or ignited your passion to get into this field.
So it happened a while back. I kind of just stumbled upon, Kava and Kratom. And it helped me to have a little bit of that social environment that I was lacking when I gave up alcohol. And I was presented the opportunity to join the company and to be part of this. And it just went from there. And seeing how it affected people's lives on a daily basis, hearing their stories, it was amazing. I had one person come in, they got a drink, and she was older, about 70. And she drank part of her drink, took one to go, and gave me a call about 15 minutes later. And she was telling me, she says, "James, you hear this?" And she was going like that. I'm like, "Yeah, what is that?" It's like, "That's my fingers snapping. Haven't been able to do that in 15 years.
Wow.
That got me.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Listen, for everybody that's listening out there, when I was getting to the end of my opiate addiction and I was titrating myself off of my Suboxone, right when I got to like the last half milligram, I was really paranoid about having negative, detox withdrawal side effects. And right when I stopped taking the Suboxone, for the next few days, I took a very small dose of Kratom, which really, I believe, helped me actually get through the last little hump of getting off of that medication. And so, I think it can be very positive for people out there that are trying to get off of opiates and things to that effect. Have you noticed anything like that?
Absolutely. We see it on a daily basis. So I actually have a lot of people that are very close to me, which is the other part of the reason that I got into this. I see people on a regular basis that have struggled with it and that still kind of struggle with it. And it has given them an avenue and a way to naturally get themselves off of opiates, because it's not easy. That stuff binds to your receptors really hard, and it's a really easy thing to fall back into. But when you have something like this, it's able to give you something else to allow you that space to step back and follow that healthier route. And personally, there's been a lot of family members that I've had that have dealt with this, and they actually work for me now because they know the way that it changes people's lives.
That's incredible. So I'd love to get into, first off, how did you hear about My Self Wellness?
So originally, somebody had told me about ketamine treatment, and I was just kind of looking around, and I had stumbled across it, and I found your place, and it was just like, okay, I need to check into this. And I started reading the reviews, and they were great. So then I just tabled it for a second because life was a little bit busy, and then someone that I'm really good friends with brought it up again, and she was wanting to do it, and I'm like, okay, this is my sign that I need to step in and do this. I actually need to do this. So we actually took the journey together, and it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. I 100% am so happy that I did this for myself.
I love that. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's really, it makes it just like where you get the good feeling and satisfaction of helping somebody that, is trying to accomplish something with what you do. That just did it for me too. So that makes everything worth it. So I would love to hear, like, if you're open to it, and if you're not, it's totally cool. But like, what exactly, like what made you want to seek the treatments for yourself?
Absolutely. So I'm very open about what I deal with on a regular basis. I deal with treatment-resistant depression. This has pretty much nullified it. I was really, really surprised in the effects of it. I thought it might help a little bit, but I deal with that. And I also deal with chronic anxiety and PTSD as well. So I was really interested in it because of that. I mean, it sounded like a game changer, and it honestly was. It changed everything for me. I haven't had a depressive episode since I finished my treatments. Actually, it was after the second one, I didn't feel depression at all any further. And it just really did a lot for me when it came to that. But it also helped me really to change my thought patterns. The neuroplasticity effects that it has, it allowed me to focus on and receive what I wanted to when it came to that. And it's been game changing when it comes to that, for sure.
I love, like, listen, like, I can relate with everything that you're saying, but I use the term game changer like so frequently when I'm talking about this stuff myself, because a lot of people that I'll sit down with, they're just like, this sounds too good to be true, or like, hey, listen, I've tried everything else, and like, is it really going to work? And I sit down with people, I'm like, for me personally, this was the absolute game changer when it came to my symptom relief. I had had tons of other profound experiences with other healing modalities, similar to ketamine, but different. And it was just what this did for my symptoms. Nothing else had really addressed to the amount that ketamine did for me.
Yeah, I completely agree. I have a lot of experience with a lot of other modalities, and I was very open to pretty much anything that would help me to heal. I've been through a lot, I've been married before, divorced, I lost my fiance in a road rage crash, and there was a lot that hit me hard. So I've been holding on to a lot.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to, go back and readdress that. But like, honestly, like I'm happy that this was able to give you some relief.
Yeah, no, that's the whole thing about it is that it was able to do that. And it sucks what I went through, but it brought me to the point that I needed to be at, so that I finally got the help, because I dealt with it before that. It just made it worse, but I wasn't dealing with it and actually processing it. So this brought me to the point where I needed to do something about it. And also it makes me want to help other people, because once you're at the bottom, you know where you don't want to be at, and you know where other people are at when they're down there. So honestly, we all go through what we're supposed to for a reason. And then we come up how we're supposed to, as long as you're open to it.
I love that. I just one of my big messages for people. It's like we go through what we go through to get to where we're going, and then we get to go back and be of service and help other people that are going through similar trials and tribulations that we've made it through.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what was your initial thoughts like when you walked into My Self Wellness? What, like, was it good energy? Was the staff accommodating?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was really good energy, really nice and clean, warm kind of atmosphere. It just made me feel kind of like I was walking into one of my friends' houses or something. It just, it felt like I was kind of sitting in a living room and just hanging out. And everyone was really warm. They were really accepting. I could talk to them about absolutely anything. I talked to them about all my experiences with any of the different things that I've tried to help myself with. And really, they were just accepting of everything. Very loving, very caring. It felt like I was talking to family members.
I love that. When we were first opening up the facility, I sat down with Christina and I was like, I would never want to go on one of these profound journeys in a doctor's office. It would be like a nightmare, be the worst experience ever. So we literally did everything that we could to make it feel like the farthest thing away from a medical facility while still being one at the same time. And I had some really good conversations with you in our integration room, man. I knew that we were going to, like after our first conversation when I sat down in there with you, I was just like, oh, James is my people, you know, like I wanted to connect with you more and more. And I felt like we had a lot in common when it came to being interested in this field and realizing the healing potential for psychedelic medicines.
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel the same way. I'm glad that, we were able to meet each other when we did, because, everybody comes into your life to assist and kind of guide you for a reason, one way or the other, whether or not they're actually trying to guide you. It's all about, when people meet and what we end up talking about. And the medicine truly is a blessing. And honestly, you guys did do a great job with the way that you set it up. It made you feel like you're just at home. Like I said, when you sit down in that chair, you feel comfortable and relaxed. When I sit down in a doctor's office, I don't feel comfortable and relaxed ever. White coat syndrome is a very, fun thing to deal with. So it's the complete opposite of what I was expecting when I first walked in there. And I was really happy about that. Every experience since then, it's just been amazing.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. So like you said, it had this profound relieving effect, or it gave you this relief. How far into the sessions were you when you really started to notice a shift in that direction?
So the first one, I noticed a drop in my anxiety. The second one is when I noticed pretty much all depression kind of just melt away. By the third treatment, I had nothing for anxiety or depression all throughout the whole rest of it. And really to this day, I've only had like one mild anxiety episode, and it's been weeks since. And honestly, after about 2 minutes of breath work, it was gone. When normally it would take half hour to an hour. So it really allowed my brain to reprogram and to change its pattern, so that way I can shift really easy, really fast. So it's been amazing.
That's awesome, man. Listen, and this goes as a testament also to the medicine getting you to a good place and giving you this window of opportunity to like really get rid of the symptoms. But you're a healthy guy. You obviously eat healthy. You're exercising. You're doing breath work, things like that. And it's like that really is a testament of having to make this complete lifestyle change. And it's not just about taking the medicine.
It's all about the integration. It is. It's 100% about the integration. So, that whole packet that you guys sent me out with, it really was a true help, because without that, I wouldn't have known about that. I know to meditate, I know to do breath work and all that stuff, but all those little things combined together, and to basically have that reminder of it was really important, because we took it very seriously. I went and did yoga at least once, if not twice a week. I did breath work and meditation on a regular basis. You have to get out and stay active. Just walking, the activation in the left and right parts of your hemisphere, your brain, helps you to process further what you're doing with ketamine, and it kind of allows it to sink in, and it activates those portions of your brain that you need to in between it. So the integration is huge. So when it comes to that, the support that you guys gave for that was pretty awesome. Checking in, like when I would get the phone calls from Gina, she'd check in on me and say, hey, how's it going? It was great, because it wasn't just her checking in to see how it was going. She kind of walked me through everything and, talked a little further about how I was feeling about it after the fact. Because sometimes you don't remember everything in the moment.
Yeah. No, listen, Gina's a rock star. We love her so much at the facility, and she's like such an amazing integration specialist. I hear nothing but positive feedback, which is just a testament to how great she is. So I appreciate you saying that. Yeah. So when it comes to the actual treatments and experiences, if you're open to it, were there any like really profound experiences that you had that stuck with you or opened your eyes, or anything that was like, incredibly, spiritual or enlightening that you had?
So there was a couple of moments on my second treatment. Basically all of reality became these sheets of paper. It all kind of compressed. Each reality compressed into a sheet of paper for me, and they all kind of stacked on top of each other and became one thing, and they kind of rolled over on top of itself. And there was this repeating word in my head, and I couldn't remember what it was when I came out. But then on the fifth treatment, it came back up again, and it repeated and repeated. And it made me realize that some of the things in my life that I was focusing on was too much, because that repeating word in my head and these repeating things that were going on in my head were things that I was focusing on too much instead of myself. And that was one of the biggest, most profound experiences I had with that. And I didn't realize it until after the fact, what it truly meant. Because when something's taking that much room in your mind, you need to sit back and say, hey, why is this taking up so much of my space in my mind? My mind needs to be occupied by my thoughts about myself and then everything else from around it, instead of this one thing or that one thing. You can't be occupied with just your job. My job is my passion, but it shouldn't be the forefront of my mind.
That was profound. I just learned something myself because I'm always in work mode. And I'm getting better, but it's just like, listen, like, I do believe too, though, it's like when your passion turns into your profession, it's almost hard to switch off that switch sometimes, just because it's like, I told my son, Charlie, I was just like, I play. It's like play for me at this point. Like, I'm still super busy all the time, and I'm taking meetings all the time, and I'm working a lot, but I enjoy what I do, so it doesn't feel like work to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally know that feeling. I mean, I love my job, the passion behind, helping people, and on a regular basis, hearing all the positive stuff. It's great. Really, honestly, one of the other things that happened in it was when I was in the chair, I was at my self-wellness, but at the same time, I was at Kava culture. And I was thinking about Kava and Kratom and then Ketamine, and everything kind of became one together. And I realized to myself that my brain was telling me, this is all the medicines that are keeping me on a healthy track. And it was interesting how much the ketamine popped into my head as just such a positive benefit to it. Basically making me realize that I was kind of missing something for a long time, and reaffirming that that was the path that I was supposed to take.
So like, I noticed from social media and like following your page and stuff that you also like were you're active in the EDM scene. You go to events and stuff like that. Coming from that kind of background, and even up to this day, I'm sure that you see and you hear about a lot of the recreational kind of ketamine use that's going on out there. And listen, like, I'm not saying anything negative. I think that, listen, everything's perfect, and it always has been. And before I embarked on my healing journey, I dabbled in things like that myself. But what do you think is the biggest difference in the way that people are using it recreationally to the way that we're using it when we do it therapeutically?
So it is way different in that effect. Recreationally is a lot lower dosages typically, unless they accidentally put themselves in what they call a hole. And even at that point, once you're in that hole, it's not going to have the same effect because there's too much outside distractions. You're distracted by the visuals around you. You're distracted by the sounds around you. You're distracted by all these other things instead of being focused in on your mind. With what you guys do at My Self Wellness, the fact that you basically are blocking out all the external visuals puts you into your mind. Also, that you're putting frequencies into your ear that are helping to change your vibration and have your brain focus on the things that it needs to kind of dig up, because those frequencies are kind of like a shovel and they really help to pull things out. So I noticed a huge difference in it in that way, because recreationally it's to dissociate from reality, but with medical purposes, it's really to dig deeper into what is your reality. That's a big difference that I see in it.
I love that. That's really profound. It's funny. It's like, somebody told me about this a long time ago, and I never really took it into perspective, but EDM events are almost therapeutic in a way.
Oh, absolutely.
And listen, I'm not out here condoning any kind of recreational use of anything. That's not my message. But like, if you think about it, it's like there's light shows, which could be very related to like EMDR.
Yep.
It's like people are taking MDMA and other substances, and they're sitting there and they're talking in a group of people. It's like a circle where they're talking and processing. It's almost like this like therapy session that's happening at an event, It
is. It's like a massive group therapy session, because, these other chemicals that we're using, whether it's MDA or whatever, or MDMA, any of those things are going to really make you open up and talk about things that you normally wouldn't talk about. And you're talking about them with people that you might not even really know. You might have just met them 20 minutes ago, but it really makes you open up. And then you're hearing their perspective on life and their perspective on things. And then it makes you look at yourself and say, hey, well, wait, that made me just realize something about myself. And it's just this big, fun, happy environment. Everybody there is happy as hell. Everybody there is just dancing. And the energy that comes from that is amazing. Everything is energy. We are what we project. And all these people are out there just projecting positive energy, enjoying themselves, being happy, loving, and just enjoying the music, which in itself is energy and vibration. So it definitely is a big really good therapeutic session in many different ways, not just the people, but the energy from the music as well, and everything that everybody's putting off.
My life changed when I went into the EDM scene. It really did. Because like I used to be more of like on the rap side of things, and I'd go to rap concerts and everybody would be fighting in the concerts, and then you'd like go outside the concert at the end of the night and you have like SWAT team out there, and there's like, it wasn't like a really positive or high vibrational environment at all. And then when like I went to my first rave, which was an ELC years ago, and it was in Fort Myers in the Lee Civic Center, and everybody was so nice to each other, and there was such a loving energy and feeling, and nobody was fighting, and it seemed like everybody really cared about each other. And I was just like, oh man, this is what it's supposed to be like. This is what it's about. And then once I started getting into like dubstep and like realizing that they could like mix a little bit of the hip hop in with the dubstep, and it was like the drops and everything, I was just like, oh, I'm sold. Like, this is my new scene, man.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I tell you, the feeling that you get from the music is amazing. And I was actually in the same boat. I used to be big into hip hop. When I was in my teenage years, I would freestyle with my group. We actually all were about that until I was about 20 or so. And then I kind of stopped that, but I kept big into hip hop, and I would listen to a little bit of country too, switch back and forth. But about 4 years ago, when I found EDM, I was like, wow, this is different. And it just became more and more and more part of my life, because the energy from the music is something totally different. It's always positive. Even if they're not really talking about much, the vibration is always positive, versus everything else is like depressive and negative and aggressive. And it's just like, yeah, let me go more towards this, because like you said, like the drops, the beats, the energy that you're feeling when that music is pumping is a big difference from everything else out there, so far as like rap and all the other different concerts that you can go to. It definitely is a big difference, and I absolutely love it. I'm glad that I found it. It was on the spur of the moment, actually, a few years back, that I went to my first burn. I went to Love Burn down in Miami, and that was a game changer. That was really a big thing for me, and I'm grateful that I did it, and I'm grateful that I keep going out and doing it. You got to enjoy life to the best of your abilities.
Christina's convincing me to go to Love Burn, this upcoming one. That's gonna, and I've never been to a burn. All of my other friends, like in the industry right now, are actually at Burning Man in Vegas, which is currently going as we speak, I believe, still. Yeah. And she really wants me to go to that, but she was like, listen, we'll start with a Love Burn, try that out, and like, you know, and I'm sure I'll love it. It'll be incredible.
Oh yeah, no, Love Burn. I'll be there this year too with my camp. I camp every year with the same camp, and it's amazing. I definitely recommend being part of a camp. We could bring you in ours if you want, but it's all just a giant family. Especially so, EDM festivals in general it feels like you're walking into a big family of people, but especially a burn. One of the things that they tell you when you come into a burn is welcome home, and the reason is because everybody's family. I've been accepted by every last person I've ever walked up to and talked to there. I've never been turned away if I needed something. And the really cool thing that I love about a burn is nothing's monetized. There's nothing for sale. Everything is free. We give to give. You don't give to receive. There's no barter or trade. You give to give. You don't expect anything in return. That's what life should be about. You shouldn't be giving to people and expecting something in return. You should give to people because you want to make their life better. And that's one of the most beautiful things I love about the burn.
I love that. That's really beautiful, man. Yeah, no, we'll definitely have to hang out for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if somebody out there was sitting on the fence about doing ketamine therapy, what would your message be to that person?
If you've thought about it more than once, do it.
Yeah.
Seriously. We can hesitate and hesitate and hesitate on the things that we know we need to do for ourselves, and we can talk ourselves out of things really, really, really easily. But if you have thought about it more than once, and you have leaned towards it even one time, you really should just lean into it, because it's going to change your life for you. It really is going to bring you to a place where you feel a lot better about yourself, especially if you're dealing with depression. That's a big, big game changer. But if you have things that you're holding on to, and no matter what it is, I've realized in talking to a lot of other people, all the experiences that everybody's had. I talked to a guy the other day who was like, I went in for depression, but next thing you know, I wasn't craving all these sweets and eating all this crap food. He changed his thought pattern, not just for how he felt, but what he wanted. So it's really amazing the diversity that it can have inside your mind, because it's not just affecting depression, although it does because of the GABA receptors and the way that it plays on those different receptors. But the way that it has its neuroplasticity effects, it allows you to change your patterns and you get what you focus on. We know that's a absolutely positive thing in life. You get what you focus on. And if you focus on having a specific outcome with ketamine, you'll have that.
You know, it's funny that you bring this up, because we have people that come in for one thing all of the time, and then the medicine does something completely, it does that for them, and then it does something else for them that they didn't even expect. I had a guy that was doing treatments one time, and he was like, it was the second or third treatment in, and he's like, comes out of his session, and he's like, I came here for my depression. He's like, but I got in a car accident like 10 years ago, and my shoulder's been in excruciating pain for like a decade. And he's like, and the pain's gone and my shoulder doesn't hurt anymore. And I'm like, ketamine does that too. I'm like, it actually works for pain management as well, and has massive anti-inflammatory properties to it. So it's like, it's such a versatile modality that really does do so many different things. I was having the same conversation with a woman I was talking to at the clinic yesterday, where she was just like, I've put on 35 pounds in the last 6 months, or 10, or it was something like around 6 months. And she's like, and it's because I can't stop eating sweets. And I'm just like, well, not only does ketamine give you the ability to love yourself enough or more to like want to start treating yourself better, but it also goes in and it helps your brain create more dopamine naturally. And what happens when we eat sugar? It's a dopamine rush. It makes us feel really good momentarily, and then you get the crash. But once you get your brain actually to start producing more naturally, the cravings for sweets and alcohol and things like that actually start to subside. Even nicotine as well. I have tons of people that come in and they're like, you know, I quit. One of my buddies, he's dipped for 25 years. He was like using dip constantly. And through the process of his treatments, he quit dipping, which he never thought he was going to accomplish.
That's awesome, because that stuff is so gross. I don't understand how people do that, honestly. I really don't. But I'm glad that he was able to kick that. And it has the effect to basically kind of kick whatever you want to, whatever you need to, because it's all about, like I said, what you focus on. And sometimes it's not even what you focus on that you're going to get. Sometimes it's just what your brain and your body knows it needs. You know, your brain is a lot more powerful than you realize typically. Most people don't know how powerful the brain is. Most people don't know what's going on in their body, and that they have a second brain in their gut. And that when you affect these things with different chemicals, you either shut them down if they're poisonous chemicals, or you open them up if there's something beneficial. And you have that potential to basically say, this is what I want out of it, and change it using that. And it's just the one modality. It's still in you that you got to do some of the work, but some of the stuff just comes naturally. You know, like you said, some things people didn't realize, like, oh, I got this benefit out of it, but I went in for depression, you know? But another actually really interesting thing I heard about is one of my friend's uncles. He went in for ketamine treatment, and he had this neurological disorder where he felt like his arm was on fire all the time. And it was just sending these synaptic responses where he would feel pain, like his arm was burning. After his first treatment, it was gone. After 6 treatments that he did, he never felt it again.
Wow, that's incredible, man.
Yeah.
That's really profound. You know, you keep talking about like the neuroplasticity and the programming. When I was getting ready this morning, I had this thought, and it was just like, I always talk about us being biological computers, and we have the ability to be programmed or reprogram ourselves. And whether you know it or not, we are being programmed all day, every day.
Absolutely.
So what we need to be mindful of is being the programmer of our own lives. And ketamine, to me, with the new neuroplasticity that's happening, it's basically giving you a window to really reprogram yourselves. And so it's like, I tell people all the time, it's a Control-Alt-Delete for the old program that no longer serves us, and literally start to live the life that you want to live with healthy lifestyle practices, exercise, meditation, what you're eating, all of that through the process of your treatments, because it really sticks.
Absolutely. So like you mentioned, we are getting programmed on a regular basis, you know, Facebook, all the social media networks, everything out there is there to program us, news and all that stuff. One of the things I realized a couple treatments in, I'm like, I need to leave my phone alone. I'll go on Facebook and I'll post something about it. If I see something briefly with my friend, great, but I'm not going to sit there and doom scroll, because all it's doing is just reprogramming your brain. And I try to avoid my phone as much as possible. I honestly wish I could have locked it in a box for 6 weeks, because, we don't realize until it's literally right there in front of us how much our phones and everything around us is trying to reprogram us on a regular basis. But like you said, Control Alt Delete and just reset everything with the ketamine and focus on that. So one of the biggest things I took away from it was, when you go through the sessions, avoid your phone, especially for, the first couple of days afterwards. That's the biggest impact time I felt like. But as much as possible during your treatments and even after the fact, avoid your phones, avoid social media, avoid all that reprogramming, and program yourself. Don't let them program for you. You have to take advantage of that situation to the best of your abilities and make the most of it, and you'll get the most out of it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And even when it comes to like content on social media, I always talk about be mindful of the content you consume.
Absolutely.
And so it's like, if I'm on social media, I'm watching positive videos, inspirational videos, educating myself. Anytime I'm on my phone, I'm using it with a purpose. I'm not watching like stupid reels that are just like rotting my brain away or whatever, because a lot of this stuff is strategically put out there, in my personal opinion, to dumb down the masses.
Oh, yeah, all that AI generated content just to clickbait and get you paying attention to something else other than your own brain. One of the biggest things is, focusing on your breath. Well, you can't focus on your breath if you're focusing on your phone. You need to be mindful of yourself, and you're not going to be mindful of yourself when you're doom scrolling. It literally is there to take away from what you're focusing on. It really feels like a purposeful distraction a lot of times. So you have to be intentional about what you're looking at. You can go on Facebook, like you said, stick to the positive stuff. You'll never see me post anything negative. I only will post things that are going to be either positive or beneficial for somebody else to hear or read, because you put out an energy. When you're talking to people, you put out an energy. If you post something, you're putting out an energy. When you record something, you're putting out an energy. And you should be mindful of that when it comes to that. Anyone in life should, when it comes to that, because you are what you exude, and the people around you are affected by it. And you're either going to affect them in a negative way or a positive way, or you're going to push people out that are beneficial to your life if you're negative. But you can bring people in that are good to your life if you're positive.
Yeah, no, I love your content. And I think everything you said was just hit the nail on the head for me. But like, if anybody wants to follow James, he's James the Herbalist Jones on Facebook, and he's always pumping out positive, impactful content that's really inspirational. So thank you for your service with that.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Is there any other links or anything you would want people to know about?
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for an alternative, a healthier alternative, go to botanicalbrewingco.com and check out what we have to offer. Don't let me sway you or make the decision for you. Look into what it is, look into what we offer, and see if it's something that might fit your lifestyle and give you a healthier alternative. I'm big into plant medicine. I'd rather go with plant versus pill any day. There's very few things that I believe in that aren't coming from nature that are going to help you. But definitely there are a lot of things that aren't coming from nature that will, like ketamine. I believe in MDMA. A lot of psychedelic therapies are very beneficial. But past that, when it comes to regular pharmaceuticals, all the antidepressants, all that stuff, I stay away from that and stick to the natural forms of it, whether it's a supplement or it's the drinks that we make on a regular basis, because I have seen it change lives. And when you use these things responsibly, everything in moderation, it has a good benefit to it.
I love that. So if you had one message to give the world, what would it be?
My one message to give the world would be, the path to recovery and to healing yourself is not an easy one. The one thing I've learned in life, that it's actually one of the hardest roads that you'll ever travel. And it's explained a lot like the road to Shangri-La. And a lot of us know about the story of Shangri-La. It's this mystical place off in the mountains, but you really can't get there because the path is so treacherous. It's winding, it's steep, it's rocky, it's slippery. Everything to deter you from getting there. And that's what the path to recovery and to healing is like. But on the other side is something beautiful. And it's scary as shit. The other thing is that on the other side of fear is something great. And I was scared as shit going into it, but I'm so grateful I did it.
Boom. I love that, man. Well, thank you so much, James, for coming on the show and sharing your experience. And thank you for tuning in to another episode of the My Self Wellness Podcast. And just remember, if nobody's told you that they love you lately, I do.